Hi everyone, it's me, Nikki. Welcome back to my channel. I got blue hair, I'm very happy. I got space earrings as well. Blue hair, blue glasses. Anyway, this is my August wrap-up. I read 10 books. It's the most books I've read this year. Oh, sorry, that was my Discord. Where? I'm going to Cawpile. I'm going to look at my stats. So I read 10 books in August. That's 4,380 pages. No DNFs, no audiobooks. Mostly physical. Mostly series. Yes, all series, not mostly. Where's the other thing? Oh, the genre. Fantasy, some historical fiction. Book. No. I think that is it. I own them all, so that's really great. Oops, no. I knew how to work a computer. So I will just start with the book on the top, which is shiny, X-Men and the Avengers, the Gamma Quest Trilogy, Book 1. It is essentially an X-Men Avengers crossover in book form. I'm not sure, it's a bit misleading, kind of. It says Scarlet Witch of the Avengers. She's kind of a mutant, because this was in 1999, so I'm not sure where she is, if she's a mutant yet or not a mutant, but she's had run-ins with them because she was a villain, and Rogue is at the X-Men, and they disappear. Wolverine also disappears. I don't know why that's not mentioned on the back. So he is not with Cap and Storm trying to figure out what's going on. He has been captured. It is Cap, Iron Man. Who's the third person? Vision. Of course it's Vision. Because him and Wanda have just divorced. And their kids have disappeared. Their kids are, that's very confusing. And then it's Storm, Hank, and Beast, and Cyclops. And, you know, it's just a short little book. 263 pages. They also have, like, some other books, I think, and maybe comics, like lists in the back that you can check out. But yeah, Wanda gets kidnapped involving puppets. It's weird, as weird as it sounds. Logan he's hunting, but I don't think he's actually going to kill anything. He's just hunting. And that's how he gets captured. I do like the artwork, actually. And Rogue gets kidnapped by clothing. So it's all very strange and all very different. I don't think they know. Yeah, they don't know Logan's missing because he was hunting out in the woods alone. And then, you know, they're each looking for their respective person. And then, where do they find? Oh, this happens. That's the SHIELD helicarrier, and it looks like Angel, who I don't think is supposed to have those anymore, Banshee, who I believe is retired, somebody mentions that, and I can't remember his name, but he's like from Canada. So Nick Fury, it's the white version of Nick Fury, not the Samuel L. Jackson. Nick Fury is very confused about what's happening. And who is in this? And Val from Countess Valentina Allegro de Fontaine is in this, the Julia Louis-Dreyfus character. So that makes it look bad for the X-Men. There is torture. Logan obviously gets tortured because he's got his healing ability. They use Rogue's ability to suck up. That sounds really bad. To siphon Logan's powers to torture her, and then they mentally torture Wanda. And it's basically making them use their powers to see what they can do. But individually, X-Men and the Avengers find out there's some gamma radiation, and they're like, oh shit, that means it's the Hulk. And fuck knows what's going on with the Hulk in this one. But Bruce hulks out, and they both fight him. Both sides fight him and then each other because it's very confusing, as you can see here. And it just ends on a cliffhanger. There is a villain. It is a Hulk villain, I believe. So I'm not completely up to date on the Hulk villain. And he is working with somebody else. So that will be interesting. But yeah, it was just a short little story. You know, sort of what you expect from a comic book, if that makes any sense. And I read this for the superheroes prompt for the r/fantasy bingo. But this is not hard mode. Sad. And I gave this... What did I give it? I gave it 4 stars? It's 4.5, but it's basically 4 stars on Copile. Yeah, is that right? Yeah. So it was good. You know, I enjoyed it because I like Avengers and X-Men, and it's like 90s Avengers and X-Men, so it's cool. Yeah. I'm going to have an awful pile down here. Next, it is the Battle of the Labyrinth, the 4th in the Percy Jackson series. And this is the Labyrinth with the Minotaur and Daedalus and all that stuff. I think that's supposed to be Kronos, well, whichever one it is. And it's got Percy, Annabeth, Grover, Percy's brother, whose name I've forgotten. Tyson. I don't know why that took me a while. And they go on a quest to find the labyrinth. Because essentially, the labyrinth is... I think it's under all of the USA. I don't think it's under all of the world. At one point, it was like under all of Greece. And there is a entrance, like all over the place. And there's an entrance at the camp. And the Kronos and his gang are like, that's how we're going to invade. So, you know, our heroes have to find it, get to the middle, find Daedalus, seal up the entrances. It's a whole thing. It was very good. A lot of things have been wrapped up, you know, but there's also more because we get Rebecca Dare in this one, who I think she was in the 3rd one for like a second, and she's immortal who can see through the mist, so she's important. And I think I know, I looked up something about her, and she's important later, but whatever. Nico's in it, so it like wraps up that little storyline. It wraps up stuff with Grover, but it also is like planting seeds for the 5th book, because Percy's birthday is coming up. when everything becomes important. What else? Oh, and they do a lot of, like, they go to the stables, and he's got to use the water to clean, like Hercules. So again, you got your little throwbacks to the myths. Odysseus is also a lot as well. Not so much Perseus, which is weird. I think they did a lot of Perseus in the first book, though. What else? There's a hellhound in it. Love her. She's great. And there's a very funny scene when they're at Alcatraz. I recommend yeah, fantastic scene there. And then there's like a big battle at the end. Characters die. None of our main ones, obviously, but you know, for a middle grade, a lot of characters die. But yeah, I really liked it, and I think I gave it 5 stars. I should just leave it here. Yeah, I gave it 5 stars. It's fantastic. 10/10 would read again. So I'm excited to finish that. Then I read He Who Drowned the World. I gave this 5 stars. This is my long-anticipated sequel to She Who Drowned the World. This is much more violent than the first book. I think there is there a note? I don't think it's in. Also, before that, there's a wrap-up of what happened in the first book. So helpful. I don't think it's in the book, but I believe it is on Goodreads. Let me see. Because I saw there was trigger warnings. Shelley Parker Chan, the author, says that this is substantially darker in tone, which is true. There are consensual encounters, sexual encounters between adults, so that's not warned for, but there is self-harm, suicidal ideation, marital rape, pregnancy loss, drowning, torture, child harm and death, internalized homophobia, and ableist language. Everybody's a dick. Like, everybody. You get Zhu, the Radiant King's point of view. You get Wang Bao Tiang, I believe is how you say that. You get his point of view. You get a couple other points of view. And basically, everybody's a dick. Everybody's, like, the worst person except for Ma, Zhu's wife. She's fantastic. There's character death as well of characters we know and love. So that was really sad. Because it hit Zhu differently than other character deaths. I don't remember the self-harm. I remember the rape and the miscarriage. The drowning I remember. Oh gosh. The torture. I can't remember it, but I know it's there. It's not overly graphic, so maybe my mind was like, okay then, I'll forget that. But yeah, everybody is a dick in this. They're, like, Ma has the only redeeming qualities, and Zhu is lucky, quite frankly, that their wife stays with them. And Zhu, once again, calls herself her, she, but everybody outside that doesn't know calls her a him. So that's why I use they. Because I don't think Zoo really has a gender. She's like, yeah, I'm a woman, but I'm also a man, so get wrecked. And she's the Radiant Emperor, the Radiant King. And that was the only thing I was a little sad about. Like, it ended with Zeus starting the Ming Dynasty. I think it's the Ming Dynasty. Yeah, but not... I would like to see what happens in the middle of it, because the real Zoo was a piece of shit. Just like this one. Like, I'm serious. Everybody's awful in this from Ma. Except for Ma. But I like Zoo. I like her so much from the first one that I knew going into this that they would be an awful person. Like, you don't get to become emperor during a war without being an awful person. So, I really liked it. I know a lot of people didn't like the first one, and they might not like the second one, but I really liked it. And I mean, it's a big book, but I thought it read pretty quick. A lot of it is set up for what Zoo is going to do, which is fine. I found it interesting. I did forget some characters, but as I read, I was like, oh yeah, that's who that is. But yeah, I just really liked it. I really liked it. It's LGBTQIA+. But yeah, just know this, going into the second one, everybody's a dick. Except for Ma. She's perfect. And Zoo does not deserve her. That's all I'm saying. Okay. So yeah, I gave that 5 stars. Next is, and I read it for the prompt of published in 2023. So next I read Gearbreakers. This is a LGBTQIA+ sci-fi Pacific Rim type of thing, except the Pacific Rim Gundams are the bad guys. And the Gearbreakers are the ones that destroy the Gundams. I talked a lot. And we have Eris, who's down here, and she's a Gearbreaker. And Sonia, up here, who intentionally infiltrated, they call it the Wind-Up pilot program, but I'm just going to call it Gundams. The Gundam program to take down the evil empire from the inside. And I think at some point she recognizes that was a very dumb thing to do, but it's too late. And Eris has she has a sister who has heat gloves, and she has frost gloves, essentially. And it's the found family as well. Obviously, evil empire. There's, I would say it's a body horror, because Sona, I always said Sonia, but there's no I. Sona is cybernetically enhanced. You can see here, they basically take out her real eye and replace it with a cybernetic eye, and she's got, you can't see it, but she's got like tech on her arms and other places. All the Gundam pilots are like that. So, and they're not very, I mean, they work for a corrupt government, and they take pleasure in killing the Gearbreakers and regular people, so they're not great, but there are some nice ones, but nice is like a relative term. There's some dickhead Gearbreakers as well. And I did see a review that the found family was kind of weird, because they were always threatening to, like, kill each other, and, like, they were always fighting, and I was like, yeah, that is weird, but it's also an apocalypse, and they've been traumatized for their whole lives, so they gotta they gotta it comes out in weird ways, I guess. So it was a little weird, but I still like the whole found family thing. Yeah, I just really liked it. I gave it, let's see, I gave it 5 stars. It was really good. I liked you didn't get like a whole background of the society, but you got like enough to give you a taste of more, you know? Like, they don't say, oh yeah, this is how the tyranny started. You're just like, here's some Gundams, and now they're killing people. I will say I did see a review that said, it's mentioned in the book, Sona is from this little village that did coal, I think, and you have to deliver the coal to the capital. And her village didn't meet the requirement, and then the Gundams came and destroyed the town. And one of the reviews is like, well, that's stupid. And I'm like, yeah, that is stupid, but also it's a tyrannical empire and they're trying to make a point. So I don't know how often they go around destroying towns who don't meet their quotas. But yeah, so there are some things that if you're like, well, maybe if you think about it, it'll take you out a little bit, but then you can always justify it by saying, like, well, it's the empire. They're dickheads. They do dickhead things for no reason, like most governments. So yeah, and that's a duology, just like He Who Drowned the World. Okay, next we have My Imaginary Mary, which I gave 4 stars. This is the second in the Mary series. It says here on the back. You had the Janies with My Lady Jane, which was Jane Grey, My Plain Jane, Jane Eyre and Charlotte Bronte, and My Calamity Jane, which was Calamity Jane. My Contrary Mary was Mary Queen of Scots, so these two were set in the same universe. And this is my, I think I said this, I can't remember what edition this was, but it was an edition that was supposed to have pink edges, and it didn't, so, but it's like signed, and it's got lovely covers and stuff. So this is about Mary Shelley and Ada Lovelace, who meet, and they have magic. I believe it's Fae, yeah, magical people, and they create Pan, practical automaton number 1. Well, Ada doesn't, Mary helps, but so it's a bit of a riff on the Frankenstein, and I really did like it. The only thing that annoyed me is when they first met. They're like the same age. They're supposed to be like 16, 17 maybe. It does say in the opening that, like, they say that Mary Shelley and Ada Lovelace never met, but we are going to ignore that. And I'm like, well, I'm sure Mary knew of her, because Ada is Lord Byron's daughter. He didn't have a son. Or not a legitimate son. Mary Shelley was married to Percy Shelley, Lord Byron's, like, bestie. So, like, they're the same age, and I was like, okay, that's weird. That was a little weird to me, but once I got over that, I did like it. The historical, I guess because Frankenstein is, like, I didn't mind the sort of retelling of Jane Eyre, because that's problematic, but I think Frankenstein is such a classic, and, like, Mary Shelley invented sci-fi fantasy horror kind of all in one go, that having it messed with a little bit hurts my literature soul just a tiny bit. But once you get past that, It's very good. I loved all the characters, Mary, Ada, Pan, Mary's sisters who had happy endings. Thank their gods. Mary and Ada also have happy endings. And the men sort of get what was coming to them, which is always a plus. And then you have your villain, whose name I can't remember, who was a real scientist, Mr. Aldini. They talk about him as well. He gets what's coming to him, so it's all very good. At the end, everybody, I do like that they rewrite history, so our female characters get the happy endings that they deserved. Oh. Then I have to put all these up. Okay. We're not nearly done, but okay. I read Blessed Monsters next by Emily A. Duncan. I gave this 3 stars. I can't remember what I gave the others. Excuse me. I'm trying to see. Ruthless Gods I gave 2. What was the first one called? Wicked Saints I gave 2. So this getting 3 stars isn't great. I liked it better than the other 2. The usage of boy got, as a couple comments have said, or reviews said, decreased dramatically, but then everybody got called boy, not just the main love interest. What really makes me sad is that the gods that she came up with were like eldritch horror beings, and I think that was really interesting, and I would have liked to know more about them, but she's such an awful person that that idea is now tainted, you know? Like, she has all these gods, you don't hear about most of them, and then you have, like, elder gods, and then, like, elder gods, and I'm like, oh, that's so interesting, but she's so awful, you can't... And the ending was, like... fine, I guess. It wasn't as... I mean, there were big stakes, but nothing happened. Like, some side characters got killed, but none of the main. Which, at least Leigh Bardugo did that, you know? She did that a couple times. I just... Nadia and Malik... I can't say his name. So her love interest, they like are separated, and then they meet, and they're like, "Oh my God, I missed you," and then they immediately have an argument, and then they make up. I'm like, like the argument they have is it's one they've had before, and then they make up, and then I'm like, what? So you know, it's just a thing. The Pelagia is back in this, and I would have liked to know more about her, but that's kind of a letdown. The Malekith, I don't know how to, I'm sorry. Malekith, he's still going to be a dickhead, Black Vulture, so, you know, and I would have liked to know more about the other places, like down here, or even like this place, but you just hear about these 2 places, and it's, this place is cold, and this place is blood magic. Fantastic. And, you know, they bring in, I can only compare this to Leigh Bardugo's Shadow and Bone trilogy, because I think a lot of people did at the time. It's like wintry, Russian-y, Central European-y, that kind of thing. But they even bring in the second one, I think, the princess of where Nadia is from. But she's not nearly as interesting as Nikolai, I don't think. So yeah, it just, I mean, I thought it was, I liked the ending. There was like a fight thing near the end that I thought was really good. But also, no, they have to say this. There's this, the girl, the monster, the prince, the queen. The queen has been a side character for 2 books. And she only has interludes. Like, if you're going to make her a main character, give her her own chapters. And we know basically nothing about her until this book, when she becomes important. So that was kind of frustrating. Yeah, I don't know. It was an interesting read. I thought, like I said, the most interesting part were the gods and the eldritch horror abomination, and how there are older ones and older ones and older ones. But I can't. If I want eldritch horror, I'll read. Oh, Lovecraft is just as bad shit. Bloodborne. I'll do Bloodborne if I want eldritch horror. If you want to read it, I'd check it out from the library. I guess don't give her any money. I only read it because I'd bought them. And I had the whole series. If I just had one book, I probably would have gotten rid of it. But I bought them. I bought the first book, and then I bought the next 2, and then I found out how bad she is, I think. Like, I had already ordered them when I found out how bad she was. So whatever. Next is Where Dreams Descend. I gave this 4 stars. And this is the Owl Crate version, I believe. Yeah. Now, when I first heard about this book, people just said it was a magic contest. There were magicians, and it's a contest, and our main character is a woman, and she enters the contest, and it's like, ooh, that never happened before. And that is true. Kalia. This is also a Phantom of the Opera retelling. Why did nobody tell me that? I would have read it sooner. I read the Phantom of the Opera book. I'm going to put that down because I don't want to get it all over my fingers. I listened to the audiobook. It was really good. I like the book. I've never seen the movie or the Broadway play. I don't really want to. I like the original book much better. So I saw a review where someone said this was like Phantom of the Opera fan fiction, and I'm like, it's a retelling. So yes, it is kind of like Phantom of the Opera fan fiction. If the Phantom kidnapped Kalia from birth. So Jack is our Phantom. DeMarco is the love interest. And then there's other people. I really liked her assistant, who Kalia meets in the big city. Glorian. His name is Eros, A-A-R-O-S. And she meets some other side characters that I thought were great. I thought the mystery of the city was really great, because Kalia and the other magicians show up, but then they can't get out. And even the mayor is like, I don't know what's happening. And, DeMarco, that's his last name. I forgot his first name. Darren, D-A-R-O-N. He comes to do some investigation, and then later a female reporter does. Well, she's invited to do a story on the magician-a-thon, but she also does reporting, and like literally nobody can remember anything. there was a huge fire. They had these 4 houses, and then something happened. Nobody can remember anything, and like all the archives are gone. And Jack really didn't want Kalia to come to the city because of stuff, which I assume you're going to find out in the second one. And Kalia is really great. She has lots of confidence because she's very good at her job, which is magic. She's natural born magic. Nobody in the city likes her. None of the elite. Like, not the mayor, not his daughter, not the other judges. But all the people love her because she puts on a really good fucking magic show. So that's all that matters to her. And Jack is really creepy in this. I think some people say they're going to like him. I'm like, ugh, this is why the Phantom... No, he's a creep. He's like locked her literally in a cage. And he won't let her out, and he like does awful stuff. And he's like, "Oh, I'm protecting you," but he doesn't tell her anything. I assume everything's gonna be laid out in the second one. But yeah, I don't understand how people like him or the Darkling or anything like that. I don't get it. But I enjoyed this. I wish I'd known it was a Phantom of the Opera retelling sooner. I would have picked it up sooner. And it ends on a cliffhanger. So, great. Great. Now I have to read the second one, which is just as gorgeous as that. Okay. 3 more. We can do this. Next I have Little Thieves. I read the audio book of this earlier, but I got a physical, beautiful copy. I gave this 5 stars. I've talked about this before, but I'll do it again really quickly. There it is. Oh, wait, hang on. Where Dreams Descend, I did for the Myths and Retellings. And Gearbreakers, I did the Young Adults. Prompts for the R/R Fantasy Bingo. This is not on there. I used it last time, I think. But this is a Goose Girl retelling where in the original the princess is like perfect and the servant who takes her over is the evil one and is killed, I think. But this one is a little more complicated. We have Vanya right here with Death and Fortune, her mothers, and then that is our the one who sets it all in motion. She steals from the rich and gives to herself, and she steals from the wrong person, and the god of that area is like, no, thanks, you've done enough, and curses her to have rubies and pearls sprout from her body. And it will keep going until she dies or changes her ways. So, what I liked I liked it all, but in the physical copy, you get every chapter is a moon phase because that's when whatever is going to happen to Vanya is going to happen. So, and then of course we meet Giselle, the real Giselle, and the love interest, whose name I've forgotten. But he's in the second one. And of course Ragna is in it. Fantastic. Let's see. There is abuse. Like Vanya is abused as a child by the people richer than her. Giselle is subtly abused by her family. And then of course the bad guy is Adelbrecht is a dickhead. And there's also a little body horror near the end. Stuff happens to Adelbrecht, and he kind of, when I listened to it, I was like, oh, that's kind of reminds me of something. And then when I was reading it, it reminds me of, there's a boss in Bloodborne, bringing it up again. Ludwig, the accursed, he has a horse's face mixed with a human face, but also like a kind of horse human body. That's kind of what happens to Albrecht, but perhaps less bloody. But yeah, I really liked it. I liked the gods of the universe and how like Death and Fortune are sort of like big names, but then there's also like niche ones, like of the Little Forest, and there's like lesser gods, and like there's time and judgment and wisdom and truth. Oh, it was great. It was great. I can't wait to read the sequel. Okay, next I have Redemptor. This is the second of the Raybearer duology. I think Jordan Fuego said there were more, maybe not books, but like short stories or something. I gave this 4 stars. Yeah, Little Thieves 5 stars. I think it was because it was good. I really liked it. Why did I give it 4 stars? Because I always like to read a book, have my own thoughts, and then see reviews to see like, oh, maybe I'm the only one that felt that way. I'm usually not. But, you know, sometimes you're like, oh, God, am I the only one that didn't like this part but like the rest of it? It's pretty short. I mean, it's only 323 pages, and I think it could have been longer. Tarasai has to get her own council of, because she's now her own, she's a Raybearer herself, and the spirits of the dead were like, in the last book, you need your own council. And she has 2 years to do this. And like, it doesn't take her 2 years. I don't even think it takes her a year. Maybe like 6 months or something. So, and she gets the leaders of the other nations, which are not in this book. There's no map for this one. But and she's trying to make them her anointed ones. But like, when you go into it, you only really mention, they're all named, but you only see her interacting with like 3 and maybe fully just 1. Maybe 1.5. But, you know, she doesn't have a lot of interaction with the other ones that are supposed to be supporting her. So I think that was the only thing that was kind of like, oh gosh. It could have been a little longer. Not padded, but you know what I mean? And then she goes down there, and of course, it all works out just fine. What I did actually like is Tarasai becomes the Empress, along with her cousin, I think, is what he would be. And she's like, no, we have to just, I lived this life and I saw things, and you know, some of the others in the circle that she made in the first book, they also did, but some of them didn't. They were like upper class type of things, and she's like, no, we just have to tear it down and start over. And some people are like, oh no, can't we just keep it the same? And she's like, keeping it the same would mean fucking over more generations of women like me, so no. So a lot of people are like, oh, you're going too fast. You're going too fast. And she's like, well, tough shit. So I did like that. And her cousin / emperor From what I remember, if he has any reservations, he tends to say them to her and not in front of the public. If she says something, he'll be like, yeah, I agree with her. And if you don't, then you're stupid. So I did like that. I did like the closeness of the friends, even though you don't get to see a lot of them because they all sort of go their own separate ways while Teresi is trying to do her thing. But you know what? This was a solid ending. And I cannot wait to see what else comes out of this, especially since Teresi has changed everything. So yes, I would recommend the whole duology. And finally, King of Scars, which I gave 4 stars. And this was the title with a title. Yes, just checking. Prompt at r/fantasy. This is the Nikolai. I say it's the Nikolai duology. I believe that's what it was called. But he's only one of the 3. You also get Nina and Zoya. And I think it's more of a Zoya book than a Nikolai book, especially near the midpoint, maybe, where they go off and they get, yeah, I think near the midpoint. It becomes more about Zoya and less about Nikolai, which was like, I like that. And it's got a lot of characters who stayed in the capital. And Nina is out. Where is she? I believe she's in this one. I can't say that. Ferda. And she's going to bury his body, whose name I can't remember. And she's also spying on Ferda and trying to get Grisha out of there and into Ravka. And at the moment, the 2 stories are not connected, but I do have the sequel up there, so I'm going to trust Lee Bardugo and assume the 2 stories become connected, because Nina's sort of doing her own thing, and with whatever happened to her, she could use bones as projectiles and talk to the dead, kind of, so she's doing stuff with that. And then Nikolai, I don't remember it until they were talking about where it happened, but he got attacked by the things from the rift, the Unsea, and he becomes like a demon monster-y thing. And then Zoya is just following him, trying to make sure he doesn't kill people. And then an appealing moment for myself. Darkling is mentioned. He's called the Starless Saint by a group of cultists led by a Yuri, and they want him to become a proper saint. I hate the Darkling. I do not understand why people like him. And he has, I believe he will be a main character. Yuri and all these cults and everything about him will be in the second one, and I hate it already. I don't like him. It also became about him at some point, and I hated it. So that's why I gave it 4 stars. What I did like is, at some point, the midpoint, where it becomes more about Zoya. Zoya and Nikolai and Yuri get pulled into this thing, and there are some saints there. I almost called them gods. No, because we've been talking about them in the other books. Saints, Juris. What's the other one? There's a female one, Ivika. What's her name? I just remember Juris because him and Zoya hung out a lot. Let me find them. Oh, Elizaveta and Grigori. I don't know if they might be martyred because they're saints. So they meet them and they're like, oh shit, we thought you were dead. And they go, haha, jokes. So that was really fun. And then Nina also meets Hannah, Hanne, Hanny, not sure how to say that, who is a Grisha who doesn't know how to use her power, and Nina helps her, and then like stuff happens, and so I'm excited to see where Nina's is gonna go. Less excited to see what's going to happen with Nikolai and Zoya and whatever bullshit the Darkling cult is pulling. But yeah, you know, overall it was good. It wasn't about as much. It wasn't as much about as Nikolai as I thought it was going to be, but it was still very good. This is 51 minutes, so I think that means we have to stop. Who knew I could talk about books so much? Anyway, that's the video. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you have a good day, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.